Have you been told you need to stop doing what you love, whether it's exercise, running, or a sport? Well, here at Dynamic, we don't like that answer. In this podcast, we'll talk to leaders in the health and wellness space from Southwest Florida to get the solutions you need to get you back to doing what you love. Welcome to the Dynamic Naples Podcast. Hey, what's going on, Southwest Florida? Dr. Chris here. I want to just put together a small podcast, a kind of a quick one on a kind of a fun topic. I recorded this actually with my friend Bree, who's a nurse practitioner. We're on a different podcast together called the Poppin' Bottles Podcast, where I talk something physical therapy, she talks something, does a topic on something nurse practitioner related, and then we pop open a bottle of wine and we kind of just talk about whatever we want to talk about. It's kind of a fun podcast. Definitely check it out if you're interested. But we recorded a segment, and I just wanted to kind of play my part of the segment because I think it's a super interesting topic. It's the idea of why you should not be eating in front of a TV or a phone. It really, spoiler alert, it kind of messes with digestion. So I kind of go into some details of that. So without further ado, here is that clip. So I just took this course called Physiologic Flexibility, a really cool course about homeostasis and all the sort of levers of your body you sort of pull and play with to become more robust. And a lot of this was about, how you can deal with your nervous system. So just a quick overview. I'm talking about the autonomic nervous system. That's sort of the background system that's running. It's what keeps your heart beating. It's what makes you breathe without thinking about it. It's all the sort of automated stuff, right? So we have two divisions of it. We got our sympathetic and then our parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is like the alarm's on, right? So that's the fight or flight. And the parasympathetic is the turning the alarm off, or, so the relax and digest portion of the nervous system.
This is what I'm going through right now. I hate bridges, and I am having my sympathetic turn on, and then my para once I get to land. I hate going over bridges. I'm driving to Marathon Key, everybody.
Yes.
So my anxiety is on a level 20.
Driving is a total sympathetic activity, and I'll explain why in a minute. In fact, I've been wearing a glucose monitor for the past month. And one thing I know, so we know stress will spike your blood glucose in a negative way. Basically, because you're in a sympathetic state, your body's going to sort of pull the glucose, or really glycogen, out of your muscle and put in your bloodstream so you can have some fuel to get into a fire to run. So there's a reason for it. But anyways, so I've been wearing this glucose monitor for the past month, and every time I drive, and it doesn't even matter if it's like I'm angry or anything, it will spike my blood glucose like crazy. So you're definitely right.
I'm probably on like level 20 right now with that, because I literally cannot stand driving over bridges. But
yeah, and we're in season now in Florida, so it's a lot busier. So it's not like you're it's either on or off. So it's kind of a gradient, right? So you can be like kind of in a sympathetic mode, or like full-fledged panting, ready to fight. There's this gradient there, a spectrum. And so, sort of the way society is set up these days, at least for Western society, is very much a sympathetic thing. I've talked about this before, how we're really good at applying stress and not really good at applying sort of the recovery or the parasympathetic side of things. So, yeah, there's a lot of different activities. And, your body's like always trying to maintain balance. So even like inhaling is more sympathetic, exhaling is more parasympathetic, but you're kind of doing that all the time. So it kind of stays in balance. But there's little ways you can kind of hack this a little bit. So breathing through your nose in general tends to be more of a sympathetic activity, and breathing through your mouth is more, I said that backwards. Breathing through your nose is parasympathetic. Breathing through your mouth is sympathetic. So just think of someone who's about to be in a fight. They're probably breathing heavily through their mouth, or chest breathing, right? Chest breathing is also more sympathetic, whereas belly breathing is more parasympathetic. These are some of the redundancies we have built into our bodies. Anyways, one of the things I learned in this course is that gaze, your vision, is also tied to your nervous system. So if you have a very fixed or narrow gaze, as in looking at a screen or a TV, that's more sympathetic. You're concentrating on something. Whereas if you have more of a wider vision, or like a peripheral vision, that's tied more to your parasympathetic state. So that's why like going to the beach and looking at the horizon can be really relaxing, or maybe on a rooftop overlooking a cityscape can be really relaxing because you're using your periphery and it's tied more into that relax and digest system. So yeah, you probably already see where I'm going with this. So if you're sitting there having a meal, but it doesn't have to be dinner, any meal, and you're watching TV, your gaze is fixed and is going to be tied more to a sympathetic activity. And it's not that it's like your digestive system is off, but it's sort of inhibited. So that's the idea. Not to mention that, most of what's on TV is purely stimulating, especially if you're watching the news, right? So it's sort of a double whammy there. I mean, I see people, I used to do home health physical therapy. I'd go into people's homes and they'd just be screaming at the TV with the news on. So there's no way that's relaxing. Definitely not good for digestion.
Not right now. It probably gives people indigestion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if you have a meal and you're sitting in front of TV and you get a stomach ache or something like that afterwards, you feel bloated, it's probably because of that. So it's sometimes these little simple things are like, these are the things we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be like eating amongst people around a fire. That's how we evolved, not like staring at things. So yeah, once again, the further we get from how we evolved, the worse things can get.
I can see that. That's like the whole situation with like, there's like a study, which I won't get into. Maybe I'll do it another time, how there's a link, or they're trying to study like a link between autism and kids watching TV at a very young age, and how you shouldn't give them tablets or allow them to watch television for a certain amount of time because it could lead to some autistic traits. I need to like dig more into it, but like with my daughter, sometimes the TV is the most saving grace. But I try to limit it to only like 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of evidence, lots of really good peer-reviewed evidence that, so we know that the brain and the gut talk to each other. We know that, right? That's why, like, if you're nervous, you feel it in your stomach, you get butterflies, right? These two things go together. So a lot of cognitive issues, a lot of these disorders like autism spectrum, ADHD, these are all heavily tied to gut dysfunction. So it kind of just goes right into what I was just talking about. So they're staring at a TV, they're not able to truly digest. And by the way, what I mean by that is not only is it like bad for the motility of the food, but decreased absorption of nutrients. Right. So, that's huge. Right? If you're staring at a phone and you're having a nutritious meal, it's all just passing right through. Not all of it, but most of it's just going to pass through you. You're not getting the nutrients you need. You develop gut dysbiosis, and then maybe that's the linkage. Maybe that's the mechanism between what you're talking about, autism and screen time.
Maybe that's what it is. Yep. I was like, something's going on. So I'll have to look more into that. But yeah, that sounds cool, Chris.
There you go. I thought it was going to be a short one, but I went on and on, like usual. My wife has pointed out to me that I talk way too much, by the way.
I talk a little long, but sometimes being long-winded. My husband's long-winded. I just think it might be a male trait. Like, just tell me what I need to know so I can know.
Long-winded. Mike is long-winded and repetitive in a fun way. So that's that on that particular topic. Definitely check out the Poppin' Bottles Instagram account if you want to hear more. I can drop a link in the show notes as well to a YouTube video of the podcast. So that's all for this week. I'll be talking to you guys soon. Why guess when you can test? Do you get hangry or crash after a carb-heavy meal? These could be indicators that there is a dysfunction in your blood glucose regulation. If left unchecked, it can lead to irreversible changes. If you catch it quick enough, you can make diet and lifestyle changes that will get your levels where they need to be. 88% of Americans are pre-diabetic and don't know it. Diabetes underpins many of the pathologies we deal with in this country, such as obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. For some reason, it is rarely screened with your physician, and if they do test for blood glucose, it's usually with an A1C or a fasting glucose, which can sometimes give you a false negative. NutriSense is a company that supplies continuous glucose monitors. We've paired with NutriSense to get you real-time data to see how your physiology responds to glucose. The NutriSense app lets you track your daily activity to see how food, sleep, exercise, and stress impact your glucose. You can log or import this data into the NutriSense app to see the effect on your blood glucose levels as soon as it happens. Use the code DrChris25 for $25 off your order today. Do you have unexplained pain, or do you wonder just how healthy you are? When was the last time you had your blood tested? Blood chemistry analysis is a great tool to stay ahead of any health conditions, and now you can have control of your health with Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is an incredible company that sends blood tests to your home. You can choose from over 30 different tests, whether that's thyroid function, testosterone, micronutrient, cholesterol, or C-reactive protein, which is a marker for inflammation. It is sent to you with free shipping, and you get your results in 2 to 5 days. No physician referral needed. Use the code DPT25 for 25% off. You can find links in the show notes. Did you know that you can get started with physical therapy without a physician's referral? Physical therapists don't just solve pain, we get down to the root cause and keep it from coming back. We also discuss all things health, such as nutrition and lifestyle changes. If you feel that you could use some help, let's get on a free consult call. Go to www.dynamicnaples.com and sign up for a free call. Also, if you like this podcast, please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps us spread the message. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.